everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my channel. This is the start of a new week number 3 for the owls, and it is Monday afternoon, and to be honest, I'm still feeling pretty down and frustrated about Heart So Fierce and Broken. It really just sucked all my desire to read yesterday completely out the window. So I didn't read anything yesterday. It was just really rough, and I'm trying to just move on, turn a new leaf, start a new week, be more positive. Everything's fine. I just had a bit of trouble yesterday, but I'm feeling better now, and so I thought I would finally give you an update. Now, one of the books that I've been trying to read is Order of the Phoenix, and I didn't mention it hardly at all in my last vlog from last week because my vlog was so long. I basically just cut all of my comments about Order of the Phoenix out. I've decided that I'm going to do like a series of like reaction type videos to each of the Harry Potter books, since I haven't read them in over 10 years and I do have some thoughts on them. And so I thought that would be something fun to do, and also just give me something to do while I'm here in lockdown, to be totally honest with you. But I have made some really good progress on Order of the Phoenix. So last week I read to page 543, which is chapter 25. But yeah, so I'm going to be finishing Order of the Phoenix this week, hopefully either today, probably tomorrow, because I'm only going to read a little bit today, I think. I also want to work on the Castle of Otranto, which is my potions book, and I don't really know the plot of this one. I just know that it is a gothic story. So I'm assuming it has some sort of hidden secret that manifests in a house, probably, castle, now that I think about it. Oof. So I'm going to read this one for sure, because this is incredibly short. It's 83 pages. So I'm going to read this one this week as well. So I also would like to work on my Dark Vanessa, which is my herbology prompt book. So it's the story of this woman, Vanessa, kind of remembering a relationship she had with a teacher when she was like 15 or 16 or 17, somewhere in there, and how it's years later now, and this teacher has been accused of sexual assault, and she sort of is forced to redefine or rethink about the relationship from a new perspective, an adult perspective. So I'm excited. So this is another book I want to work on. And then I've had a bit of a change in my plans going forward. So after I read all my owls for the Spellmaker, my Mer People linguistics, and my additional potions owl to have to work on my Animagus training, I would technically only have 3 books left to read then to get all 12 owls, and so I might be trying to do that as well. And so since that changes up certain things, I would then have a Defense Against the Dark Arts prompt that I would need to read, which would be a book set at sea or on the coast or something. And so I actually am changing and going to move The Woman in Cabin 10 for that owl, because this takes place on a cruise ship, and so that works out really, really well. So I'm going to read a different book for my arithmancy owl, which is to read outside your preferred genre. And so I'm going to read The Widow by Fiona Barton. This is the story of a woman whose husband was basically accused, or did he commit the crime? So this woman, Jean, her husband committed or was accused of committing this crime, and she stayed silent for years, trying to be this dutiful wife and things like that. And now that her husband died, she's kind of coming forward with her story. And so this is going to be my new arithmancy owl prompt. So it's a lot of reading this week, but I'm excited, because I'm making really good progress. And so if I read all of these this week, because then next week I really only truly have one book I have to read to complete all my owls for my spellmaker, and that would be my Charms owl, which would be a darker shade of magic. And I said that I wanted to wait on this book as long as possible because in case I get sucked into the world, I didn't want to read it at the beginning of the month and then either start reading the sequels or be forced to wait too long. So I'm trying to hold off on this as long as possible, so I'm going to probably work on this next week unless I work on my other books first. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, so that's my reading plans for this week. I'm feeling pretty good about them, actually. As much as I was disappointed by books last week, I do feel like these at the very least are going to be interesting reads and hopefully enjoyable. So I'm feeling really good about where I'm at. I feel like I'm still being very productive. I'm making really good progress, even though I'm like a little bit behind page count wise where I'm supposed to be. I just feel like I'm making really, really good progress, so I'm very happy about all that. And I'm going to just kind of keep working on reading this week. I've got a show that I worked on premieres tonight, so I'm going to be watching that tonight. I'm going to just kind of keep working on some organizational stuff during this lockdown. I've still got some work to do. I'm posting a video on Wednesday, and I'm a little bit nervous about it, to be honest, because it's basically a ranty, negative, like a ranty reaction to A Heart So Fierce and Broken. I just put together what was there and cut out the pieces that like weren't feasible or so much silence or lost my train of thought, and it's like an hour and 10 minutes, so I gotta cut that down even more. So wish me luck. But yeah, that's where I'm at for right now. I will check in with you guys later. Hey everyone, so it is Wednesday afternoon. I just kind of got back from doing some grocery shopping. It was a very intense experience with, everything going on out there, but I'm back. I just had some lunch and thought I would do a check-in. I did not check in yesterday at all because I was finishing up Order of the Phoenix, and this book is my least favorite, and there's a lot of reasons why, but in general, I just feel like there's so much angstiness and so much anger and frustration from Harry, which I totally get, but there doesn't seem to be a payoff at the end for it all. He was angsty the whole way through, and the payoff was at the end he got to go live with Sirius for a while, or something good happens. Like, I feel like it would be less frustrating, but it's just 600 pages of Harry angsting and being hormonal and being upset and frustrated and angry, which is fine, but it's 600 pages of that, and the last 200 something actually happens. And so it's tough for me to get through. There just doesn't ever seem to be a proper balance. And then, the ending. I'm having a really hard time. I'm having a really hard time about it this time, specifically. Although, so spoilers for Order of the Phoenix, the ending, but I always cry and get really emotional when Sirius dies, because Sirius is one of my favorite characters, and I just feel like we were just kind of scratching the surface with him, and I don't like that he died so quickly. I don't like the way that he died. I don't like the guilt that Harry feels about it. I'm sorry, guys. And I think this time specifically, it's just hitting me even more because I lost my godmother 2 years ago, and so it's always a tough one for me to get through because I don't like most of it, and I hate the ending because I don't like Sirius dying at all. And I was really emotional yesterday about it, so that's why I didn't update anything. I thought it would be cool to talk about it now, and clearly that's not the case, so I'm still crying. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with this one. I finished Order of the Phoenix. My thoughts are I'm just sad right now on it. So I'm probably will have more thoughts in the future. I want to do a series of videos of reactions to me rereading the Harry Potter series and stuff. And my fear is when I get to this one, I'm just gonna be an absolute mess. Gosh, I can't believe I'm crying so much. Gosh, you would think after 10 years the shock would wear off. Especially since I don't even think J.K. Rowling cares that much about Sirius. His death is over so quickly. It's just, well, there it is, it's done. Yeah. So I'm a little worried that when I get to this one in my reread reaction videos, I'm just gonna be a mess. I hope not, but we'll see. On a lighter note, I guess, I'm gonna try to not be so sad. So if I can read through these 4 books this week, or throughout the rest of the weekend, then for the rest of the month I only have 5 books left to complete, and I will have completed all 12 of my owls plus 2 additional owls. So it feels doable. I'm just going to be reading a lot at this point. So we shall see how it goes. Hey guys, I thought I would give an update here. It is Thursday afternoon. This light, it is insanely bright out today, and I'm too lazy to go and shut my blinds, so we're just gonna deal with this being really bright and making me look kind of like a ghost. It's fine. Anyway, so it's Thursday. I'm feeling a little better than I was yesterday. I am still feeling a little bit down, and I haven't really been reading since I finished Order of the Phoenix. I'm supposed to be working on this chunk of books right here, and I have put in a bookmark, and that's about it. And today I've been super busy with work stuff, so I just haven't really had a lot of time to get any reading done. But it is the reading rush this weekend, so I think I'm going to use that kind of setup again to get some books read. So there's 4 prompts for the reading rush, and the first one is to read a book with a house on the cover, to read something in one room, to read something that makes you smile, and to read something that's set in a place where you want to go. So originally I thought I was going to read the second book in the Westcott series by Mary Vallow, Someone to Hold. But because I'm doing like a whole Westcott reread, I don't know if I want to start this yet, because I would have to do because I was going to do like a book diary on reading the entire Westcott series. So I don't know if I feel up to kind of logging my progress with it. So instead, I think what I might do is read this Jennifer Ashley, Penelope and Prince Charming book. It sounds wild. I know I've read Jennifer Ashley before, but can't think of like the titles off the top of my head. But this is apparently Damien and Penelope, where Damien is an heir to some sort of European world. It's not specified what it means when it just says European royalty, so can't wait to see what that means. Well, apparently the only way to like inherit his kingdom is to marry Penelope. I don't know if it's Penelope specifically or just like anybody, but so he's going to be trying to woo her, and Penelope has been jilted twice, so she's a little bit gun shy. And it also has this thing about like, but wooing is difficult amid assassination attempts and wild magic. Like, this book sounds crazy, but there's a definite house on this cover, which is great, and there's also some bird-like creatures, so if I read this one, it can still count as my Care of Magical Creatures owl, which is an owl that I don't really need for my spellmaker career, but I am kind of now invested in getting all 12 owls because I just am. So I think this is what I'm going to be reading to fit for my house prompts. Just trying to see where this takes place, if it tells you. Oh, and this is set in England. Does it say anywhere else, just England? Okay, so I'm thinking I could count this as a book as a place I want to go. And I think this book should cover all of them. I mean, it's a romance novel, so it'll definitely make me smile. There is a house on the cover. I can read this all in one spot since I do most of my reading in my room anyways. And so it's set in Little Marching, Oxfordshire, in England. And I feel like I can count that as a place I'd want to go. I like traveling. I loved my time in London, so I probably will count this as that book as well. So this one book should hit all 4 of my prompts, because the other books, I really am trying to get a lot of reading done this weekend since I really didn't get anything else done, are still My Dark Vanessa, The Castle of Otranto, and The Widow. Now The Widow is a thriller, so I feel like I'll be able to get through that one fairly quickly if it draws me in, and then romance novels are really easy for me to get through, and The Castle of Otranto this is about 80 pages. So I feel like at the very least I should be able to get through these 3. My worry is like My Dark Vanessa, because I'm worried that the subject matter is going to be really hard for me to sit through in one sitting, so I might try to split it up between the rest of the books as well, because I don't really want to drag this one out for too long. I've still got 5 other books to read. So I think that's going to be my goal. So this is my new TBR for this weekend for the reading rush. I am going to try to follow along with some of the reading sprints. Like I said, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I'm excited to read some of these books. I think I'm going to just have a very chill weekend and do a lot of reading. So I will kind of update you guys. I'm not 100% sure what I'm starting with, but I'll kind of check in when I have anything to report. It's Saturday afternoon, and I don't remember if I did any sort of updates yesterday. I was super busy with work, so I didn't have a chance to get a lot of reading done, but I did read The Castle of Otranto. I have no idea how I feel about this book, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. So, like, the idea of, like, the classics canon, or, like, old school, or things written, like, 100 or so years ago, I sometimes feel like they fall in, like, one of two camps. Like, one camp is the paid by the letter, paid by the word type of writer, and books or stories that move at, like, a lightning pace, and it's over before it begins, and you're still left wondering what actually happened. And now neither one is, like, necessarily good or bad. I'm not here to get into that. But this book kind of falls under the latter category. It was 80 pages or so, and I'm still trying to figure out what exactly happened in it. So it takes place in this place, Otranto, and there's just a lot that's happening. So the general story is Manfred's son dies in the first chapter, and everyone is devastated because apparently they really liked him. I don't know, he was around for like 2 pages or so I didn't really care. So he dies, and then Manfred realizes that he has no more sons because he only has the 2 kids. And he goes, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna marry, and then he calls his son's betrothed, Isabella, into a meeting, and she's like, oh, I'm so devastated at the loss of my, like, fiance. This sucks. And he's like, okay, never mind about him. This is about us now. I'm gonna get divorced from my wife because she's not giving me any more children. And we're gonna get married, and then you're gonna give me a son, at least one, and then you're gonna give me a son, and everything's gonna be fine. And Isabella is like, dude, I've thought of you as, like, my father. I don't think so. And he gets angry and starts chasing her, and she flees to the underground tunnels out of this castle to go and talk to the friar at the local, like, chapel. And then the local was it the chaplain, or was he just the friar, or both? I'm gonna call him the friar. The friar comes and is like, okay, here's the deal. Isabella's come to me in the middle of the night. She's pretty shaken. She's really angry. You gotta leave her alone. And Manfred is, and then he tells the friar, look, here's what you're gonna do, bud. You're gonna do me a solid. You're gonna divorce me and my wife right now, and you're gonna let me and Isabella marry. And the friar's like, she doesn't want that. And so Manfred somehow imprisons the friar's son, I think it's his son, and I think it's the friar. But somehow someone's son is imprisoned. And it's like the son is held, like, as collateral damage of, like, if you don't bring me Isabella, then I will either kill your son or just keep him prisoner. I'm a little confused. Somehow Manfred's daughter, Matilda, helps this son escape, and then Isabella comes back and admits what's happening. So this guy escapes. Isabella comes back to the castle and tells Hippolyta and Matilda what had gone on with Manfred. So Hippolyta comes up with this idea to marry Matilda, her daughter, to this other guy named Frederick, who might have been another prince. Maybe he was a lord or something. I don't really remember. But she's going to marry him to this guy. And then I think she was planning on making Matilda, like, the ruler of their lands. Something. Anyways, I think the book ends with Manfred abdicating and, like, allowing Hippolyta to rule. I don't know. I'm still processing this book. It was something, and I read it, and I can understand why people are telling me, that people told me to read this if I, because it is like the kernels of gothic fiction are definitely here with the castle and the kind of weirdly ghostly apparitions that are involved and the way that you can't quite tell if it's real or not. But so much happened in 80 pages. I literally am still processing, and I think I'm gonna have to read a summary to like see if anything I just said was even true. But I did finish this one. So for those keeping track, I still have 3 books to finish today and tomorrow if I want to stay on task. I think what I'm going to work on today is I'm going to work on The Widow by Fiona Barton, because it is a thriller of sorts and I feel like it'll keep my attention. And then tonight before I go to bed, I might start my romance novel, Penelope and Prince Charming. And then I'll have my romance novel and my Dark Vanessa to read kind of tomorrow, and I'll have the romance novel to take breaks between my Dark Vanessa if I need to. A bit tired already, even though it's only like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I don't know how much of this I'm going to read, but I'm going to sit down and read for a little while and hopefully get into it. Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, about 8:30 or so, and I thought I would do a check-in. As you can potentially hear, the birds are chirping, which is great, good for them. I'm just kind of still waking up, but I did read and finish The Widow by Fiona Barton yesterday, and my thoughts are that it was good. Like, I enjoyed it. The characters were interesting. The story was pretty good. But there was something missing for me. So the general story, which I wish I would have known before going into it, is that this woman, Jean, stood by her husband when he was accused of committing a crime, and the crime he was accused of committing was the kidnapping and potential murder of a little girl. And throughout the course of this investigation, there's a lot of discussion of like child molestation and child sexual assault and child pornography, and it wasn't graphic by any means, but it is a difficult topic, and considering my reading plans for the weekend, I kind of wish I would have picked a different book had I known that, because my other book I want to read today is my Dark Vanessa, which also kind of deals with like child sexual assault in a sense. So it was a bit heavy in that sense. It was told from like 3 points of view mainly, and that was the widow Jean, and then the detective Bob Sparks, and then the reporter Kate Waters, I think. And I think for the most part it worked really well to do it that way, because we learned, like, I liked the setup of the book, and I liked the order in which we learned information. It kept me like engaged and everything. And all the all the chapters or sections that are from Jean, the widow's point of view, they're all in first person, which I think works really, really well because Jane does not say a whole lot throughout the entire book. I think if you went through and like, you know, cut and paste all of her spoken words, it would maybe fit maybe 3 pages. She does not say much at all, and it's part of like her character and stuff. So I think having her in first person was really good. I think my biggest nitpick about the formatting was when she would write from the detective or the reporter's point of view, it would be a third person limited, which is basically it's a third person, but we only know what that person knows. So it's kind of like a first person where we're following one person very closely, but it's third person, so it's told from an outside point of view. And then very occasionally it would shift into somebody else's like thoughts in that scene. Like there was one scene, let me see if I marked it. Oh, here we go. So it's like, if you can see, it says like the reporter, and this is like Kate's point of view, and it's all from her, it's all for her, and then all of a sudden, like most of the way down the page, Kate is talking to Dawn, the little girl's mother, and there's a thing where it's like, first time she's been able to talk about Bella as a child, not a crime victim, Bob Sparks thought. And there were little moments like that that would always take me out, because then I would kind of question whose point of view I was in. But that's, like I said, a pretty specific nitpick. And so I think I would probably give this, I don't know, I feel bad being like maybe a 3-star, because I did enjoy it, and I did like a lot of the characters, and I liked a lot of things, but I think for me, like with all the build-up, that just made the ending kind of feel a little like, the ending felt a little bit like a letdown, in the sense that it was building and building and building, and then like I kind of assumed where it was gonna go, and that's no like fault of the author, like where it went was still like good, like I'm grateful with where it went and everything, but it's sort of, I don't know how to say it, I don't know, there's just something I think missing about the ending, and maybe because like it technically wraps up in like 4 pages, and that's in those 4 pages that we finally kind of get somewhat of the full story. So I don't know, I'm still thinking about what I want to rate it. But overall, I did enjoy it. It was a good book. It was a good mystery crime thriller. But again, be warned of the trigger warnings I mentioned earlier, which, you know, child pornography, child assault, child sexual assault, kidnapping, things like that. And like nothing is really graphic. Like there's no explicit things pointed out or explicit moments, but it is a recurring theme and point of interest that they talk about a lot. So that was that one. So today, last day of the Reading Rush Stay Home Readathon, and I still have 2 books to read. And I'm trying not to be too hard on myself, because it's been just a draining week for me. I was very busy with work. I've been dealing with, you know, my own personal things, and I'm trying not to get too down on myself, because I'm like, I should have read one of these already, because I had Thursday and Friday and everything like that. But I think I'm just gonna let go and be happy with where I'm at. Any reading is good reading, and it's all fine. I mean, ultimately, these are books that I was one of them at least, I was for sure going to be reading with the Owl's Magical Readathon for this month, so even if I don't finish them today, like I still have time to finish them. It's okay, like just calm down. Cause yeah, after I really just need to read My Dark Vanessa. That's the one I have to read to get my Merpeople linguistics additional coursework. And then I think after My Dark Vanessa, I just have A Darker Shade of Magic to read, which would give me my charms owl, which would then give me all the required owls I need for my spellmaker career. And even if I don't finish my Dark Vanessa today, I really technically only have that book and A Darker Shade of Magic, 2 books left to read for the rest of the month, and I'll have my goals of having all the owls for the spellmaker career, being able to do the Merpeople linguistics training, and the animagus training. So ultimately, I'm in like fantastic shape, so that's why I'm trying not to be too hard on myself that I didn't read too much this weekend. I just needed a little bit of a mental break, I think. And I mean, I wrote, and yesterday I spent a majority of the morning writing, which is also very good and cathartic for me. So I'm feeling good, even though I'm not exactly where I want to be. So for the rest of the morning, I'm going to be reading My Dark Vanessa, and I figure I'm going to try to read for a while, see how far I get, and either if I need to take a break because the subject matter starts to get too, if I need a break because the subject matter is starting to get to me a little bit, then I'll, but I still want to read, then I'll swap over to my romance novel. If I need a break, I might do some cleaning around my apartment. I've got some things to work on, so I'm going to just basically spend the day oscillating between reading, potentially writing, and doing some cleaning and tidying around my apartment. Again, I'm like super sorry if you can hear those birds, but it's really stuffy in my room, in my apartment right now, because it is getting to be that time of summer, so it's fine. So yeah, so that's the plan right now. I'm gonna drink some coffee and read some of this book and see where I'm at. I will definitely update the vlog later, whether with some thoughts as I'm reading or if I finish a book or just at the end of the night in general. So yeah, I'll check in with you guys later. Okay, so update, it is 7 o'clock at night on Sunday, and I just finished My Dark Vanessa. I spent all afternoon reading this, and it was intense. Okay, so the general summary of this book is that there's this girl, Vanessa, and when she's in high school, she starts up a relationship with one of her teachers. And it felt so like believable to me, like I could have been Vanessa. And it was just really interesting the way that Vanessa was written, where like it felt so similar. Okay, so there's this really jarring quote that like I loved, and it was somehow I sensed what was coming for me even then. Really though, what girl doesn't? It looms over you, that threat of violence. They drill the danger into your head until it starts to feel inevitable. You grow up wondering when it's finally going to happen. And like I had to put the book down for a second, because like it was like, everything about this just feels so real. And like I want to clarify, like nothing like this has happened to me, but it was just so real. I had to like take breaks throughout the afternoon to like give my brain a chance to process. So like I took everything out of my closet and started sorting it into piles, and now it's like all over my room and I have to put it away. But I also really liked Vanessa talking with her therapist, or Ruby, where they have like this conversation, and Vanessa's doing this thing where like she thinks because she didn't have it as bad as other people that she's not a victim. Like she's so, like, her teacher, I don't even remember his name, is it Strain has warped her mind so much that like she believes that she started everything, and it's so heartbreaking to read like that, but it also feels so true to life. And and they and they have this conversation about, so when the accusation comes, when Vanessa's still in high school with Strand, the teacher, she basically says that she made everything up and takes the blame, and the school sort of kicks her out and forces her to tell everybody that she made it up and that she's a liar. And I was like disgusted reading that, and I was so happy when it came back up later, when, because like there's a break, or Vanessa hits a breaking point and she just starts telling her therapist everything, and she hadn't spoken anything at all before this point. And after a while in hearing this, Ruby is really angry on Vanessa's behalf, because she's like, basically that's the school, people at that school were monsters to treat you that way. Like, that was traumatizing enough regardless of anything else that had happened. And I loved that it came back, because I sat there being like, that is traumatizing. Like, there's so much about this. It was a very, very good read, and harrowing, and weirdly beautiful at times with the writing. But I don't know what way to read it is better, because I read it all today, and like I said, I did take breaks because I mentally needed it. But if I wasn't reading it all in one day, like if I didn't plan to read this for the readathon, and like I read some of it and then put it aside and like picked it up like tomorrow, I honestly don't know if I would have been able to pick it back up, just because the subject matter is difficult. I'm going to gather some more thoughts on this, because I'm going to film my mid-month Owls wrap-up this week. I mean, it's more close, it's about, three quarters mark at this point, but I have read half my books for the month, so I figured it would be a good chance to do it this week, and I'll have more thoughts on this book then. So the last book on my Reading Rush TBR for this weekend is Penelope and Prince Charming by Jennifer Ashley. I have yet to start this one. I specifically saved it because I read The Widow last night and My Dark Vanessa today, and I thought those, specifically My Dark Vanessa, might be intense, and I might want something kind of fun and fluffy to like cleanse the palate. But because it is like 7 o'clock already at night, I don't know if I'm gonna finish this by midnight my time. So now I have to make the decision of, do I start this book if I'm not potentially going to be able to finish it? Well, I chose this one because it hits 3 of the 4 reading prompts. I mean, technically it could hit 4 of 4, but because I read 3 other books, one of them fits the read a book in one room. And there are also birds on this cover. They're very, very tiny and almost non-existent, but there are birds, therefore there has to be a beak there somewhere. It's kind of where I'm going with it, to be potentially my Care of Magical Creatures owl. But my problem is, do I feel like this counts? I don't know. I am very, very torn. I'm gonna have some dinner because I'm eating super late and think about it, and then get back to you.